Hello and welcome to For Fox's Sake. This is the preview with Rob Hayes, Sam Cook and Jono Towers looking ahead to the return of championship action at the King Power on Saturday, Leicester City versus Stoke City. Now, since we last had a preview, we've been on an international break. I say we, I have. These guys have still been doing bits on For Fox's Sake. A lot has happened. Leicester have won a football match, getting the Norwich manager sacked. Top has spoken to the media. John Rudkin has been moved upstairs. PSR points deductions are looming ever closer. And Christian Fuchs has become the Newport County manager. And that has all happened since we last had a preview, which was only a couple of weeks ago. Now, fear not. I'm not going to step on Pete Selby's toes. In fact, he's done most of this already on the big show. So if you're newish to For Fox's Sake or you haven't yet managed to catch up, the big show is the place to go to hear our thoughts and opinions on those kind of big news stories. And there is a big show from just a few days ago covering most of those. Not the Christian Fuchs one. That news broke today. Very surprising, that one. Interesting to see how he gets on. There's also a special with Pete and James on Leicester's new but old sponsors, BC Game, called BC Shame. So do catch that one if you haven't already. Really interesting watch or listen, depending on how you consume the podcast. There's also a Fantasy Premier League show available, basically advising everybody to use all of their chips and all of their transfers, but we have no actual responsibility for you having a terrible week on Fantasy Premier League if you do follow that advice. One more thing before we get into the preview is our competition. You can win a Leicester shirt of your choice or a full kit. That's up to you, courtesy of us, way in time for Christmas. All you need to do is subscribe to our YouTube channel. Now, the chances are, if you're watching this live right now, you probably do already subscribe and you've got a notification saying we're live, and that's why you're joining us right now. But if you are watching or listening back and you don't yet subscribe to our YouTube channel, that is the only thing you have to do, and you have to do it by December the 9th to make sure that you are in the draw to win a Leicester shirt. So that's all the admin out of the way. We will say hello to our guests in a moment. And I'll open with my usual question on the preview. Sam, thank you for joining us all the way from Vancouver, whatever time of day it is there for you. Are you feeling optimistic or pessimistic about Leicester versus Stoke on Saturday?
Pessimistic, I must say. Yes, we won a game of football against Norwich, but that was a really tough watch. And Norwich did us a couple of favours there. So the fun sponge klaxon is going off, I'm afraid.
It begins. We are 3 minutes into the show and Sam Cook is sponging all the fun out of it already. Jono's got a smile on his face, though. Jono.
Yeah, I'm going to try to inject a bit more fun back into things by feeling optimistic, I think. The win against Norwich, we all hope it's a turning point. It looked like, the players were celebrating and were up for it at the end of that. They've had a couple of weeks to, doss about in the training ground. Hopefully there's been some work done and we can put a good show on at home. So I'm optimistic because we're at home. And, it's not going to be easy, but no games are easy, are they? But I'm optimistic we can get something here.
I hope they've done more than doss about at Seagrave over the last week or so, but I take your point. I know what you mean. We've alluded to Norwich there, and I always say on the preview the main point of this is to look forward, but sometimes we do need to have a little look back to go forward. Now, I'm interested in your thoughts on this because I'm still very much on the fence. We were speaking off air before we went live about the fact that Leicester City Football Club is still carrying a lot of dead wood. And players that are ultimately stealing a living. If you're sounding the fun sponge klaxon after 1 minute, I'm sounding the Boubakary Samari klaxon after 4.5. We won't get into him, but I'm interested to know your thoughts, guys, because I don't really know what I think on this. So that's why I chair these discussions and I let you guys have the opinions. A lot of the noise after the Norwich game was, well, this result proves that we are fighting for each other and fighting for the shirt, and it showed the right attitude. Now, I from my point of view, it seems like they're trying to say that as loudly as possible to make us believe it, but maybe almost to make themselves believe it as well. Jono, what do you reckon?
Yeah, maybe. I think the proof's in the pudding. We'll see, won't we? By half time, we'll see whether we've turned the corner. I'm hoping that, we've had notoriously slow starts in loads and loads of games, and I'm hoping we just come out of the blocks flying and give it a go. That's what I think we're just waiting for, is just the players to apply themselves and look interested. I think that's what we've been lacking. And the Norwich game was more of the same, I think there's been lots of criticism about, the ticky-tacky style, whether we can just get into them a little bit more quickly and move the ball more quickly. So that's what I'm hoping to see.
I think we've really struggled to put two halves of good football together. I think we've played pretty well in individual halves in a match so far this season, and then the other half, either the first half or the second half, and then a completely different set of players comes out at half time. If they were playing well, they now play badly, and if they were playing badly, now they play well. We finished well against Norwich. I'd love to see us come out flying again after the halftime break. We have not done that yet this season, and there's plenty of talent in this team. We just got to see some consistent 90-minute application, I think.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see if. I think Leicester will be a difficult opponent for anybody if they can maintain for a longer period of time. You're right. It's not even necessarily the performance levels; it is the application levels, because on paper these are some of the most talented players in the division, and I don't think that a manager could give them such horrific tactics or such a horrific style of play that in itself would stop them. It is that application, and you don't know whether it's a collective thing, whether it's just not gelling so well. You don't know whether it is, as we alluded to a few minutes ago, the fact that there's a few players that just really don't want to be there. Will go out onto the pitch, will just about perform well enough to make it look like they're giving it a go, but ultimately their heart's not in it, and a few percent in the professional game at the top level can make all the difference. Now we'll move on to talking about the atmosphere that we're anticipating on Saturday, because home form's not great. I mean, form generally is not great, let's be perfectly honest, but 2 wins out of 7 at the King Power this season. Really toxic atmosphere. Obviously there's been the condemnation across the board from all the fan groups about what was chanted about Jon Rudkin, which, as for Fox's sake, we would absolutely echo. Voice your opinions, fine, but too far. But it would be interesting now that Top has come out and spoken. Do we think the collective 20-odd thousand Leicester fans that are going to be there on Saturday maybe will feel a little bit more connected? Even though I watched that interview, I don't really think Top said a huge amount. He basically said, I know that we need to communicate better, and that was his opening line of communication. That's fine. Hopefully he follows through with it, but I don't know whether that, with added to the Rudkin move upstairs, might just help a few more fans or the wider sort of group to be a little bit more vocal in their backing of the players, rather than focusing their energy on their negativity or lack of connection with the club. Sam, what do you think?
Yeah, I hope so. I think the environment will be much better than it was, away at Norwich. Our last home game was Middlesbrough, where we were a few seconds away from getting a good, maybe not deserved, but maybe deserved win against a very good team. And I think watching from telly, out here from Canada, I can't exactly, my finger's not completely on the pulse, but it seemed like the atmosphere there was all right. Certainly much better than the Blackburn game previous, which was, goodness me, I could taste that through the television. That was horrible. I think if the team plays well, the crowd will get behind them. I think we're not in a position as a club at the minute where the crowd's going to get behind the team no matter what. I think we have to have something to cheer about at this point. And if we go down a goal or two early, maybe it could turn. But I think if the performance is there, if the application is there, I think I don't see any reason why we wouldn't have a reasonable environment inside the stadium.
Jono, you've been to the King Power a fair bit this season so far. Are you there on Saturday, and are you anticipating being part of a more positive fan base?
Yeah, I will be there on Saturday. I've been there for every game other than the Middlesbrough one. I missed that one because I was working late and couldn't make it. But yeah, every other game I've been there. The Blackburn was the last one I've been to, and that was rotten, frankly. With regard to the support, even in that game, the crowd, I think, was still behind the team, and even at 1-0 down. It was only when things went to 2-0 and it was abundantly clear that it was going the wrong way that it really, really did turn. So I think that it's welcome that Top's come out and said things he has. I agree with you. He hasn't really indulged us with a lot of detail, frankly. I think it's a good start, but I think that they could do a lot more, and hopefully there will be more to come. I think the news of Rudkin moving up will probably quieten a few of the fans that are always singing for Rudkin to F off, essentially. I've joined in a few of those chants, not the ones that were reported about the other day, but certainly I've joined in with about chants about Rudkin while I've been there, and it will shut me up, I think, for the time being, until we start seeing some more action upstairs and we start seeing what Top really has got planned. So yeah, I think there will be more of a positive atmosphere, and I think that Top coming out and doing what he's done is what we've been calling for. Hopefully we'll start seeing a little bit more of a change in terms of that direction, and see a lot more communication and transparency, which is what we've all been asking for. And that will hopefully over time make a difference.
So at the top of the show, Jono, you said you were feeling optimistic about the weekend, and now you've also said that you are no longer going to chant about Rudkin. I'm sensing nothing but positivity from you.
I don't think so. I don't think there's any justification to it anymore. I think that what we've been calling for is for Rudkin to basically leave his position and something happen in the boardroom to shake things up, and that's basically what's been communicated. From what I gather, we're looking for people to replace Rudkin. Rudkin is still going to be about, but if Top still wants to pay him his wages for doing something or other, then that's up to him. But if he's not involved in the transfers and involved in running the football side, that's basically what we've been calling for. So ultimately, we've got what we've asked for. So I don't think there's any point in chanting about Rudkin anymore.
Not now he's upstairs anyway. He might not even hear you. Tony Smith is watching along live. Evening, Tony. Tony's saying, I'm there, as in at the King Power on Saturday, but the performance will determine the atmosphere. I think that's kind of echoing what you two have said, but I personally think people are going to be going there feeling a little bit more optimistic. Obviously, there was the win against Norwich to help that, and also communication from the club maybe just starting to sense that things might start to come a bit closer together between the players, the fans and the club. Hello to Blue Fox Forever, who's watching online as well. Says evening all. Good evening, Blue Fox. I've got to put this one on from Pete Selby as well. Just says I love Rob Hayes. I know why he's doing that, because he sent me quite a number of messages over the last couple of days that I haven't replied to. So this is his way of basically saying, "Oh, he texts me back. If you got time to talk to Sam and Jono and the rest of the For Fox's Sake listeners, you got time to message me back." Yes, Pete, I'll text you back in a bit. Give me time. Let's move on and have a look at what we anticipate the team to look like. Now, a little disclaimer: we are live at the moment on a Thursday evening. If you're watching or listening back at a later date, at this stage, we are not fully clear on the picture in terms of the pre-match press conference of Marti Cifuentes, but Jono and I on the previous preview show discussed the goalkeeper situation. Stolarczyk is doubtful for Saturday, so it's likely that Begovic will continue. I don't really think we need to get stuck into that. I think the first conversation I want to have is that that Ben Nelson was brought in for the Norwich game and then sadly off with what looked like a fairly painful injury at the time. The extent of that, as far as I'm aware, hasn't been fully made public yet. Christensen had surgery as well, so he's out for the foreseeable. There was no space for Ricardo in the starting lineup against Norwich. So and it's a defence that hasn't kept a clean sheet in forever. So I guess the next thing for us to sort of discuss here and throw ideas about is how does that back line look for you, Jono, on Saturday, given that Nelson was brought in from literally nowhere to start against Norwich and is now no longer available. You've got limited options at left back now with Christensen out. Where do we go? How do we line up defensively?
Yeah, I think it's unfortunate about Nelson. Hopefully, it won't take him too long to get back, because I thought he had a decent spell when he came in, and he certainly looked a step above where we've been so far this season. So I think we're back to the dream team of Fass and Vestergaard at the back. That seems to be the logical choice. Okoli's probably in and around the conversation, I would say. Strange decision to play him right back. I don't understand quite what he was thinking there, but I wouldn't go against the idea of having a back three, frankly, of three of them at the back, then pack the midfield. I would have Ricardo potentially in midfield as well. I think that could be a nice could be complementary to having a Winks and JJ midfield, but I know we'll probably go on to midfield in a minute. But I'd play a back three. I'd like to see Marty change things up a bit. It was by far and away not convincing against Norwich. And it took them to score to actually get us going. And then we were playing against a very, very poor side. And we did step it up, but they were very, very poor, let's be honest. So I still think there's question marks about Marty in this setup. And I'm hoping that we can see something different. Back three.
Sam, defensively, how does it look for you?
I'd say back four, but a 3-box-3 when we're in possession. Sort of Maresca-esque. Ricardo Pereira right back. I guess Fass and Vestergaard, although Okoli's been playing and he hasn't done too much upgrade with the ball, but we won the Premier League with two centre-halves who were useless with the ball, so it's not a necessity. I'd probably have Okoli and Vestergaard at centre-half, and then I guess Luke Thomas at left-back. He's not been playing well, but we're not exactly spoiled in riches there. And then, when we're in possession, Ricardo tucks into midfield, and we go to a back three.
I think there's possibly an option to use Okoli, Fass, and Vestergaard and play Ricardo as we line up, sort of, and when we're out of possession at left back. But then he can step in to a central midfield, and then Okoli can just become a little bit more central, and then you've got a three, and then you've got Winks and Ricardo just in front of those. It wouldn't really protect us down the sides, and I know that we'll get onto Stoke in a few minutes' time, but Stoke have got a couple of decent wingers, proper out-and-out Fatawu style attacking wide players. But I just think that would give us, especially because there's this insistence on trying to play through the lines and the short passes through the middle, that Ricardo and Winks have proved that they can do that under Maresca. They played that exact system. And what that would do as we move then through the pitch would allow James to be more attack minded, almost kind of like Declan Rice-esque, where he's starting in a sort of a number 8, but he can then push on with not necessarily having to always think about what's behind him, because Ricardo and Winks would have tucked in. And then I would have then taken over replaying number 10, because I think he's done enough, surely, to get a start, provided he comes back from international duty and contributing to Steve McLaren resigning, as long as he comes back injury free and not too tired from journeys and stuff. Fine. I'll just go to what Tony said in the comments, and if you're watching along live, please do feel free to join in. We'll get through as many of your comments as possible. But I'm only putting Tony's on because Tony's agreeing with me to start Decordova Reed at 10, James in the middle there. Tony wants 2 wingers and Tony wants no Ayew, but then identifies the fact that there is a problem because it's either going to be Daka or Carranza up front. Now we've done the striker debate endlessly. I think it's just how does the sort of, for me, I think the conversation is how does the attacking formation work generally, rather than why have we got 3 terrible strikers, because I think we can park that one. Let's go Sam first this time. Sam, let's move up through the field then. We've decided kind of between us that Ricardo's got to start and we'll probably move into midfield. How the other 3 look is up to Marty. It's all up to Marty Fuentes, let's be honest. But what does it look like in front of the defence for you?
Yeah, I'm exactly the same as you. That was my thinking coming into this. Winks and James, and with Bobby Decordova in front, I think he's not really put a foot wrong when he's had his opportunities. Bobby DCR this season. Put him in at 10. I see James as sort of a new Dewsbury Hall role where he's kind of just everywhere in the midfield, marauding. He can tackle, he can pass, he can score. Put him in next to Winks, and then if Ricardo sits next to Winks, JJ can get further up the field and support the attack. Brilliant. Especially with missing Ramsey. You need that sort of a bit more extra presence there to go from the 6 to the 8 to the 10 and linking up all of those positions.
Yeah,
Jono, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think the midfield and the strike kind of picks themselves now. I think we're getting to the point of the season where we can sort of start to see who's best, or who we've got in those positions that are best options. By far and away, not blown away by having Daka up front. I think he is probably the pick of the bunch that we've got, scraping the barrel. But in midfield, I think I'd like to see a change of system, maybe a 3 at the back. I'd pack the midfield and have Mavididi and Fataru wide, with Ricardo in the middle, with JJ and Winks, and potentially and Bobby Reed and Daka as the 2 further forward. That would be so. The personnel, I think we're agreed on, probably is the same. It's just how they line up, I think.
Yeah, on Saturday it's going to be something completely different to what we've said there, don't you? So,
yeah, I mean, I don't know whether there are other options that are not available to us at the moment that would enhance that, but I think that's probably our strongest 11 with what we've got at the moment. I think the left back really worries me. I think with a back 3, I know that Fass can play kind of left of a back 3 and maybe can do a job at left back. Whether he's a better option than Luke Thomas, toss a coin on that one, I guess. But if they've got some tricky wingers, I don't know whether I fancy Luke Thomas, to be honest. But yeah, I think it's more a case that if we get going and start playing our game and actually be a bit more assertive, then they need to worry about us rather than us worrying about them. That would be the take I would have on it. Let's go and give it a go rather than sit back and be passive.
Yeah, and if we've got plenty of bodies in the midfield, you would like to think that we'd be controlling possession. And if we come out with a point to prove from the first minute, then their wingers, like you say, shouldn't be that much of an issue. It's just got to manage the transitions there. Paul says, evening all from a snowy Northumberland. Daka is the best out of a bad lot, unfortunately. Yes, I would. I think we all concur with that one, Paul, but thank you very much for getting in touch. Tony the Stato, I've got no way of ratifying these stats this quickly, but he's saying Daka's not scored for 50 weeks. Sounds about right. He's going for the full year, isn't he? He's got to go for a calendar year without any goals now, Daka. Let's have a quick look at the opponents then, because as we always do on the preview, we spend too much time talking about Leicester and then have to rattle through the final couple of segments of the show. They are flying reasonably high in terms of position in the table. They're third at the moment, 27 points, but that is only 6 points ahead of Leicester, who are 12th. So that kind of area, I mean, Coventry are a touch above everybody at the moment in terms of points accrued, and they're dangerous goal scoring. But that kind of top half of the table is really quite condensed. So it's not like they are 9 places better ability-wise, really. It's 6 points. It's not a huge amount at this stage of the season. We've talked about the fact that they've got some dangerous wingers. They've got Mabama up front, who's on loan from Man City, who scored 3 goals in 2 games for England under 21s in this window, this international break just gone. So they have the potential to cause Leicester some problems. And I've got to be honest with you that most people watching along are not very enthused about our chances here. LCFC 67 saying only see a Stoke win, as does Paul, especially when it's this cold with our luck. Well, we were talking about with the can the players apply themselves for 90 minutes? If they're a little bit cold beforehand, that could be another another reason. So Stoke City, under Mark Robbins, obviously ex-Leicester striker, did reasonably well at Coventry. What do we see? What are we expecting from them, Jono? Or do you really not care as long as Leicester give you the performance you want?
No, I don't know much about Stoke, to be honest. I have got a colleague who's a Stoke fan, and he's been piping up on the Teams chat this week, talking about the game. Obviously, he's pretty stoked that they're, excuse the pun, but pretty stoked that they're third in the table and seem to be doing reasonably well. But I think in this league at the moment, as you say, 2 results and you can be completely the other way around. So a couple of wins and we could be back in the playoffs and in their position. So, and they could be where we are. So I don't see it as all that.
Sam, just before I come to you, just a little warning for everybody that's watching. You've got about 2 or 3 minutes to get your score predictions in if you want them to be read out or shown on the preview. So just a word of warning, everybody watching live, score predictions time in a few minutes. Sam, anything to add on what you're expecting from Stoke?
I don't know too much about Stoke, I'll be honest. But having set out my stall as a fun sponge to start with, I'm going to run directly backwards from that and have a bit of positivity. There's 2 teams above Stoke in the league, and we've played them both at home, and we're undefeated. 0-0 with Coventry, 1-1 with Middlesbrough. So, on paper, they're better than Stoke, and we're undefeated. So, at least a draw is certainly a possibility.
Big fan of that. I like how you've used some stats to turn your mood around. Yes, I'm a big fan of that. Right. Last order of business, or penultimate order of business before we get on to the predictions, is a very quick look just for the fans of nostalgia at players that have played for both clubs. If you are watching back or listening to the podcast, you might want to have a little pause in a few seconds and have a think about it before we ruin your fun for you. Probably do that now. If you're watching live, then tough. And that's tough for Sam and Jono as well. I've got to say, when I was thinking about this earlier, before I looked it up, the first 2 names that came to my head, obviously Asmir Begovic, because he's quite topical at the moment for Leicester, being a current Leicester player as well, and being between the sticks probably on Saturday. Big Robert Huth was the other one that came into my head, but I kind of got there via Begovic and him being in the Tony Pulis era, as well as Christian Fuchs coming back into the thoughts. Any coming to your heads, guys, before I read through a couple of the big hitters?
Yeah, I had 2 and you just named them.
Oh, I'm very sorry. Jono, you're on mute at the minute. What have you got for us?
Yeah, I had those 2, but I also didn't Tom Cannon go there for a bit.
He did.
Oh, yeah, good call.
That was the other one. Other than that, I'm struggling, to be honest.
Paul's picked one up. Jerry Taggart, absolutely correct.
Yeah.
Paul, very good. And the disappointing thing is the first player on the list, because it is alphabetical, the list I've got in front of me. Again, Jono, like it was the last time when we first sort of used this feature, is Adi Akinbaye. He got around a bit, didn't he? Adi Akinbaye on this list as well.
He go to Stoke, did he? Was that after?
Yeah.
That must have been after he was at us.
He bagged a couple of goals there. In 60 appearances for Leicester, he got 11 goals. And in 63 appearances for Stoke, he got 19, which is a better record. I mean, it couldn't have been any worse than his record at Leicester. A few others: Richard Cresswell, Graham Fenton, Paul Gallagher, Arne Gunnlaugson. Remember him? Bald-headed Icelandic fella from the late 90s, early noughties. Who else? A couple of goalkeepers. They've got Victor Johansson, who was in Leicester's academy as well as their goalkeeper now. Matt Upson's on the list. Danny Tiato, Harry Suter, of course. We signed him from Stoke.
That's good.
So a reasonably, I won't say a rich list of players that have played for both, but an interesting one nonetheless. We are ticking over the half-hour mark. Sorry, go on.
Where is Harry Suter? Where is he?
Oh, he's injured.
Yeah,
I think he's got a Achilles tendon, something or other.
Yeah, I think they're expecting him to be back within the next, I don't know, 6 to 8 weeks, possibly.
I've got another one actually. Peter Shilton. Did he play for Stoke?
Gordon Banks definitely did. Shilton probably did as well. Yeah, I would imagine. I think they both did. Yeah, I went to uni in Stoke many years ago, so that rings a bell. So technically, me as well. I've been at Stoke and Leicester, so yeah, you could count me on that list if you like. I've been to both stadiums. Does that count? Anyway, prediction time, because we are over the allotted half an hour. Only just nowhere near as much as Pete Selby goes over his allotted half hour, so nobody can come at me for that. I think he needs to get rid of that logo up there in the top right that says your 30-minute for Fox Sake podcast. And if you're listening back, you'll hear that on the intro. It's a big lie. It's Pete Selby trying to rein himself in and failing miserably. The big show, in fairness, does have a lot more debate around it. We can keep this a little bit tighter. So prediction time then. Let's go Sam first. Score prediction, and if you like, any goal scorers or any timings or any patterns of play, you go for it.
1-1 and JJ to score.
Jono?
I'm going to go 2-1. JJ to score.
2-1 Leicester, I presume.
Yeah. I'm going for a 2-1. Yeah.
Paul's come in and said 2-0 to Stoke. Very optimistic, Paul. Yeah, quite possibly. Who knows? Blue Fox Forever has come in. Leicester 2, Stoke 1. Agreeing with you, Jono. I think what my head's telling me it's going to be a draw, but my heart's saying that I want Leicester to win. So I'm also going to jump on the 2-1 bandwagon, but it's possibly going to be left quite late again. And it is relying basically on somebody like Decordova-Reid or James or Fatawu to come up with a moment of magic. And just before we go, Paul would like to point out he's not a Stoke fan, he's just a realist. Fair, absolutely fair enough. You're watching along live, Paul. You are entitled to your own opinion. Thank you very much to everybody that did watch along live with us, and thank you as well to everybody that's watched back and listened to the podcast in what some might call its purest form. Just a reminder, if you don't subscribe to our YouTube channel already, the one reason to do so is that you get notified every time we go live. You get to see all of our content, and another great reason is we have a competition running for all of our YouTube subscribers to win a Leicester shirt or a Leicester kit of your choice. You must subscribe by December the 9th for that one. Sam and Jono, thank you very much indeed for joining us. Fingers crossed that the 2-1 that is widely shared as a prediction comes to fruition on Saturday.